Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jay.
All right, Jim. So Twins didn't play yesterday, but gained a half game because the Guardians lost to the Yankees. So now they're just 2 games back, tied with the Royals for second place in the division. It's going to be an interesting race the last 7 weeks to go here in the year.
It's going to be a blast. And this is going to be a fun weekend. Cardinals come to town. They aren't here very often. You get to see Sonny Gray pitch against Pablo Lopez. You get the Lynx with just a massive weekend. Another game against the Aces tonight. The Collier and the MVP conversations I wrote about today. Maya Moore being honored on Saturday when Caitlin Clark is playing here. I'll be there for that game. I mean, it's just fun stuff. And then the Vikings, listen, it's not going to be much of a game, but I also understand that Viking fans want to see the positional battles play out, want to know who the 53rd or 52nd player on the roster is going to be. So you get that too. Good time to be a Minnesota sports fan. The Lynx and the Twins are both, very relevant in late August. That's always a good thing.
Is Caitlin Clark still a big draw to try to get people in the seats?
Oh, yeah. She's a big draw everywhere, but especially where you can bust people up from Iowa.
Jim, so the Vikings are going to play their final preseason game tomorrow. I think it was the Bears played the Chiefs last night. Hardly anybody that would be first team and maybe even some second teamers didn't play. Is that probably going to be the case for the Vikings-Eagles game tomorrow?
All you need to know about tomorrow is that Jaron Hall is starting.
Okay. And is he expected to, I suppose it's Matt Corral is the other quarterback. I would assume those would be the 2 guys that would play and Mullins wouldn't play?
I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan. So it's an evaluation tool for the last spots on your roster. The fact they brought Corral in, maybe just take a look at him. Maybe they really do want to have him compete with Jaron Hall. Jaron Hall should play well tomorrow. He's been in the system for 2 years, and if he doesn't play well, that's a red flag.
Are the Vikings pretty comfortable with their quarterback position? I mean, you lost McCarthy. You've got Darnold as the starter. Mullins, probably the number 2 guy.
In reality, no, they're not comfortable with their quarterback position. Sam Darnold has not been a good player in the NFL. He hasn't been accurate. Mullins can put up yards, but will also throw a lot of interceptions. And you don't know if Jaron Hall can play in the league. You don't know if Matt Corral is any better than Jaron Hall. So, no, they're not comfortable with their quarterback position. They're stuck with their quarterback position. And they're just going to, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen this year. They're going to try to run the ball well. They're going to hope that the defense is better. And they're going to try to win close games. And they're going to try to manage Sam Darnold into being a good game manager type quarterback. Crazier things have happened. It's not going to be easy. They're a very difficult division. They have a very difficult early schedule. But crazier things have happened. I wouldn't want to bet a lot of money on Sam Darnold, but I guess the most accurate way to put it is if he's ever going to play well in the NFL, it's probably going to be under these circumstances with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Hockenson coming back, really good running back, Aaron Jones, pretty good defense. This is his best chance to prove he can play in the league. If he can't play here, he's probably just can't play in the league.
Jim, is Taylor Heineke a guy that the Vikings could be interested in? I think he's, third string with the Falcons behind Cousins and then Penix?
Yeah. I mean, is he better than Nick Mullins or is he kind of another Nick Mullins? I don't know. There's so many quarterbacks in the league that are just about the same. Is Heineke really an upgrade? I don't know. I mean, maybe they think he is. He might be a half step better than Nick Mullins. I just don't know if I see him making a move.
I see the Vikings signed former Gopher Mohamed Ibrahim. He's 26, which I know he had kind of a long college career, had a bunch of injuries there. Does he got a chance to make practice squad or something like that for the Vikings?
I would think so. I wrote a year ago that I thought the Vikings should have signed him as a college free agent because I think he's way better than Dwayne McBride. He's just a better player. He's a very intuitive runner, knows how to use blockers. Not particularly gifted in terms of speed, but just knows how to run, And obviously the injuries didn't really allow him to play last year. So I think it's a good move. It's good to take a look at him. He's a long shot under his circumstances, but I don't know, running backs who know how to run are sometimes underrated.
I suppose if you're looking for reasons to watch the game tomorrow, that might be one that he would play in the game.
Yeah, I hope he plays. I hope he plays. He was a wonderful player to watch at for the Gophers. He was so entertaining, so smart, so intuitive. Always squeezed extra yards out of every run. So I hope he has a chance.
One thing we don't talk about much is the kicking game, unless, of course, it's a disaster. Will Reichert is a rookie they selected in the 6th round. He looked pretty good so far in the opportunities he's had. Are they pretty happy with him?
Yes. I think he had his first kick of the preseason blocked. Other than that, he's had almost a perfect camp. He just looks great. Strong leg, accurate from 40 and in, making extra points, young, talented, somebody you can keep around for a long time if he performs well. I think they're very happy to have him.
So defensive back Josh Metellus was saying yesterday that one of the focuses from the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, this year is to be physical, both offensively and defensively, to become more physical. In what ways will we see that?
Well, number one, running the ball. It's hard to be a physical team if you can't run the ball, if you can't get first down on 3rd and 1, if you can't bully the other team occasionally in the running game. So I think running the ball, number one, and that, they have big offensive tackles, are talented. They should be a good running team. Running the ball is number one. Number two is, defensive front. And it's not the most talented defensive front, but you have good players there. And then you have a variety of pass rushers. And between Metellus and Harrison Smith, you guys, you can hit in the secondary. So, physical football always starts on the lines. But I think what will look different is if they just really commit to the running game, which they couldn't commit to the running game last year because Madison's having a terrible year.
So, Jim, Justin Jefferson's health certainly very important for this team. He was injured last year. How can he keep from getting hamstring injuries?
It's a mystery. One of the things they've kind of figured out in sports medicine, modern day sports medicine, is that these guys train so hard that if there's any imbalance in strength between like your hamstrings or your obliques or whatever, then the weaker side is eventually going to pop. And that's kind of what's happening. So, they know it, and you still see hamstring injuries. So I just think it's a combination of all the obvious stuff: stretching, hydration, working out a way that keeps your body balanced, not taking the kind of hit that's going to really throw you off. I mean, I don't know. There's no simple answer. I mean, he's aware of it. They're going to try to keep him healthy. He's going to try to be healthy. He's going to try to get past the hamstring injury and be healthy. But we see the modern athlete just gets hurt a lot.
Jim, you touched on the Maya Moore having her number retired and the ceremony that's going to take place tomorrow. Certainly that's going to be a big day for the Lynx. How would you characterize Maya Moore as a WNBA player? One of the best of all time?
I think she's one of the best of all time. She retired at a point where she was going to really start stacking numbers that were going to be pretty historic. She didn't get a chance to do that. She ended up freeing her husband from unjust incarceration. Her current husband, obviously not then. So an amazing life as much as anything. One of the great winners in the history of American sports. Barely lost high school, college. She comes to the pros. She immediately wins four WNBA championships in her first 7 years. I mean, there just haven't been many people won like she has. It's a great human being on top of it. So what I think she was one of those players who, if you were a man and you were looking down on women's sports, you watched and you said, "Oh, I can't make fun of that. I can't pretend that's not spectacular." She could do almost everything on a basketball court. She was, and one thing that I always heard from behind the scenes from Lynx people is, Cheryl's a tough coach, a good coach and a tough coach, an incredibly knowledgeable coach who wants things done a certain way. Maya's the one player she's had who would absolutely bust the play and then make it work anyway. She'd go the wrong way, then she'd hit a 25-foot three-pointer. How do you get mad at that? Great shooter, great range, explosive athlete, great in transition, loved the big moment, winner, all those things you just can't deny.
Jim, your column in the Star Tribune talking about Nafisa Collier. Could she be the MVP of the league?
I think she's got a shot. I mean, they're gonna keep playing like this. They're gonna keep beating teams like the Aces, and she's by far their best player. And this is by far the most overachieving WNBA team. I mean, that's kind of the definition of an MVP. What's interesting is usually the best team produces the MVP. Well, this year, New York is the best team. And really, the New York votes, people who think that a New York player should get the MVP will probably split their votes between Stewart and Ionescu. So I think, and Asia Wilson isn't having her best season. The Aces aren't having their best season. So I really think if you look at it rationally, you're probably talking about either Alyssa Thomas with Connecticut or Nafisa with the Lynx as the truly most valuable players this year. I don't know how the voting's going to go. The Colliers seems to be an underdog in a lot of ways. But if the Lynx keep performing like this, she's going to have to get a lot of votes.
Jim, what do you think about the contract extension for Chris Finch?
I mean, knew it was going to happen. Connolly really values Finch. He values the way this organization is put together. Finch is not only a good coach, he's also a good organizational person. He's great with front office. He's great with his assistant coaches. He's great with the public and the media. He's great with his players. Connolly wants stability. He also really believes in having good people in the building, and Finch is that. So not surprising at all.
Is he completely recovered from his injury?
I saw him walking around the other day, and he looked better. I think he's getting pretty close.
Okay, yeah, and certainly when you see the turnaround for the NBA and NHL seasons, there's just not a whole lot of off season for these guys, especially for some of them that were playing in the Olympics, even less off season.
Right. I actually talked to a couple of Wolves people about that, and I said, "Hey, is this going to be a problem for Anthony Edwards?" He said, "These guys all play basketball in the off season, and they all work out in the off season. Why not have them playing with the best people in the world?" And it's not like he played heavy minutes. He seemed to have a great time. So I don't think there's a real negative there. And I think it's hard to win back-to-back championships because the champions play such long seasons and have a difficult emotional recovery and turnaround. But I don't think it's hard to come back from a disappointing loss. They did not play well against Dallas. They know it. They know that they have to play better. They know what it takes now to play through that many playoff series. So I just don't think there are any negatives there for the Wolves.
All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcast?
Pretty much full slates up. We'll do Chin Music with Roy and Lavelle today, previewing the baseball weekend and the race. Other than that, Jeff Diamond's show is out. He actually had some interesting comments on how Justin Jefferson's deal actually cleared the way for affording Stephon Gilmore. We have Viking Update show up. We have, Mike Grimm's show, Michael Russo's, Kevin Gorg's, and we always have so many shows I forget a lot of them. But go to talknorth.com, you'll find something you like.
All right, very good. Jim, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrip. Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune's podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, today is brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Dream Getaway 80 rolls on. Our latest code word, first one of the day, is GRIP. G-R-I-P, GRIP. Type that in. You can win a vacation of a lifetime. First code word of the day is GRIP. G-R-I-P. Get a grip. G-R-I-P. All right, coming up next on WJON, World and National News from ABC, followed by local news. Jim Souhan once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill.